rating of 3 out of 5 at her first performance review. She had never scored that low in her life. Stanford had rewarded intelligence, preparation, individual achievement. The workplace needed something different, and nobody had told her what. This episode is about that gap. Why formal education, even excellent formal education, leaves a specific and consequential hole in your professional formation, and what to do about it. Welcome back to the Winning Workspan Trademark Podcast. This is episode 3, and this one I'd send to anyone starting their first job, anyone stuck in mid-career, and anyone who's ever wondered why being smart didn't seem to be enough. Dr. Pallab Chatterjee opens Chapter 4 with a line that has stayed with me.
He writes, "Somewhere in my first year of full-time work, I made an unsettling discovery. Almost nothing that determined my success was taught in school."
That observation lands differently depending on where you are in your career. If you're early in your work span, it might feel threatening, like the ground shifting under something you worked hard to build. If you're mid-career, it probably feels like relief, like someone finally naming what you've been sensing for years. Here's the structural problem. Schools are optimized for a completely different problem than the one work presents. Schools teach that someone else defines the problem. Work rewards the people who find the problem before anyone else recognizes it exists. Schools teach that collaboration on assessments is cheating. Work calls solo heroics a team failure. Schools teach that being the smartest person in the room is an asset. Work teaches you, sometimes painfully, that being the person who makes the room smarter is a far more valuable skill. And here's the part that stings most acutely in the AI era. Education systems revolve around transmitting and testing knowledge. But knowledge retrieval is precisely what AI now does, instantly, comprehensively, and nearly free. The economic value of knowing things is collapsing. The value of doing things with knowledge, of applying, synthesizing, and acting, is rising. What should schools teach instead? Dr. Chatterjee calls it the master skill. Slow, learning how to learn. He breaks it down into a 5-step loop. Deconstruct. Break the new domain into its essential components. Sequence. Find the right order, which foundations must come before which advanced capabilities. Practice with feedback. Don't just consume, perform, and get corrected. Apply under stakes. Do real work in the new domain, where failure has real consequences. Stakes accelerate learning in ways that safe practice never can. Teach. Explaining something forces you to find the gaps in your own understanding, the gaps you didn't know you had. Once you internalize that 5-step loop, Dr. Chatterjee writes, you can enter a new domain and reach professional competence in months rather than years. That is not a small claim. And in a work span that includes 5 or more major career pivots, it is arguably the most valuable skill you can possess. Chapter 5 delivers the framework at the center of the entire book. The 10 Learning Cycles Trademark. The core idea is simple and profound in equal measure. Your career is not one game. It is 10 games. Each game has different rules, different winning moves, different failure modes, and the skills that make you exceptional in one game can actively hurt you in the next. Dr. Chatterjee maps 10 cycles, each typically spanning 3 to 5 years, across a full work span. Let's walk through them. Cycle 1, Foundation. The learning focus of this cycle is deceptively simple. Become reliably useful. Not brilliant, not innovative, not impressive, reliable. Deliver what you promised when you promised it, at the quality expected. Build the say-do ratio that will follow your reputation for the next 40 years. The trap in cycle 1, impatience. The desire for visibility before you've earned reliability. Reaching for the interesting project before you've demonstrated you can deliver the boring one. Maya's notebook, Things Stanford Never Taught Me, was her Cycle 1 curriculum written by hand. Cycle 2, Technical Mastery. Go deep. Become genuinely excellent at something, not just competent, not just functional, but distinctly excellent. The Dreyfus model of skill acquisition describes 5 levels: novice, competent, proficient, expert, and master. Cycle 2 is about getting past competent into proficient or expert territory in your core domain. The trap, staying a generalist when the game is demanding you specialize. Collecting experiences rather than building depth. Cycle 3, influence. This is the pivotal cycle, and the one most frequently missed entirely. The shift required here is profound. Stop doing excellent work. Start making excellent work happen through others. This cycle is where the meritocracy myth ends. The belief that good work speaks for itself, that results alone are sufficient, begins to break down here and never fully recovers. The professionals who stall at cycle 3 are almost always technically excellent. Their work is superb, but they haven't learned to amplify their impact through persuasion, coalition building, and collaborative execution. They are doing more while achieving less. Cycle 4, leadership. Other people's performance becomes your output. Read that sentence again slowly. Other people's performance becomes your output. This demands the hardest identity shift in a career. Because the skills that made you excellent in cycles 2 and 3, personal technical mastery, individual execution, doing things yourself, are now the things you must delegate. The cycle 4 trap. Reverting to individual contribution when things get stressful. The leader who can't stop doing the work. Who swoops in and fixes rather than coaching. Who bottlenecks their team's development by refusing to let them fail. Cycle 5, business acumen. Widen from your function to the whole business. The finance executive who understands only finance. The engineer who understands only engineering. The marketer who understands only marketing. These professionals hit a ceiling in cycle 5, and many never break through it. Leaders who master business acumen stop being functional executives and become business executives. They can sit in any seat at the leadership table and understand how every decision ripples through the P&L, the customer, the competition, and the organization. Cycle 6, reinvention. This cycle is so important that Dr. Chatterjee gives it its own chapter, which we'll cover fully in episode 4. For now, cycle 6 is the moment when the platform you've built in the first 5 cycles either gets extended into new territory or starts quietly depreciating. The professionals who don't plan for cycle 6 tend to discover it only when they're already inside it, which is a very uncomfortable place to learn about reinvention for the first time. Cycles 7 through 10. These later cycles move through strategic thinking, legacy building, mentorship, and impact creation. The economics of these cycles are completely different from the early ones. In the early cycles, you're building capability and credibility. You're investing. In the later cycles, accumulated experience converts into something different: direction and generosity. You are no longer primarily learning. You are primarily contributing to institutions, to people, to ideas that outlast you. The professionals who find the later cycles most fulfilling are the ones who made this transition consciously. who recognized that the measure of success had shifted from what they could achieve to what they could build in others. One of the most valuable sections of Chapter 5 is Dr. Chatterjee mapping his own career against the framework, because it makes the abstract completely concrete. Cycle 1, research scientist at Texas Instruments, learning to deliver, learning what the workplace actually requires. Cycle 2, recognized technologist, building distinctive expertise in semiconductor manufacturing that made him someone specific people sought out for specific problems. Cycle 3, cross-functional influencer, learning to move things through organizations he didn't control, building credibility outside his technical domain. Cycle 4, large organization leader, managing increasingly large teams across multiple functions, his output becoming entirely other people's results. Cycle 5, business executive, running business units with full P&L responsibility, understanding the whole game, not just his function. Cycle 6, software reinventor, transitioning from hardware to software leadership, a reinvention that required everything he'd built and everything he had to deliberately unlearn. Cycle 7, investor, deploying capital and judgment rather than personal execution. Cycle 8, framework builder, distilling 50 years of pattern recognition into models others could use. Cycle 9, executive mentor, investing in the development of the next generation of leaders. Cycle 10, author and legacy creator, writing this book. 50 years, 10 games, 1 work span. What strikes me most about his arc is that each cycle built on the previous one. None of them was wasted. Not even the ones that felt like detours at the time. Dr. Chatterjee poses a question in Chapter 5 that I want to sit with for a moment. He asks, are you learning skills for today's role or for tomorrow's? Most professionals, if they're honest, answer today's. We learn what's required to perform well in our current cycle. We get the feedback that tells us what's missing and fill those gaps. We build competence in the present. And then one day, sometimes gradually, sometimes suddenly, the game changes. The new cycle arrives, and we discover that the skills that made us excellent in the last cycle are neutral or even counterproductive in the next one. The Cycle 3 transition is where Dr. Chatterjee sees the most professionals stall. You've built deep technical mastery. You've been recognized and rewarded for it. You've received every signal that excellence means doing excellent work yourself. And then someone promotes you to lead a team, and suddenly the skills that earned you the promotion are precisely the ones you need to stop leading with. The professionals who navigate this transition successfully are the ones who saw it coming, who started developing influence and leadership skills one cycle before they needed them, who were running slightly ahead of the demand. That is the operating system insight. The background processes run continuously. You don't fire them up when you need them. You've already built them by the time the moment arrives. Your reflection questions for this week. First, which of the 10 learning cycles are you currently in? Not where you wish you were, where you actually are. What are the primary development tasks of this cycle? And are you actively working on them, or drifting? Second, are you learning skills for today's role or for tomorrow's? What does the next cycle require, and when did you last deliberately invest in those capabilities? Your action this week: identify 3 skills you need to master for your next cycle. Don't wait for your employer to tell you what they are. Don't wait for a performance review to surface the gap. Figure it out yourself and start learning 1 quarter early. 1 quarter of deliberate preparation, compounded across 10 cycles and 40 years, is the difference between reacting to your career and designing it. Next episode, we tackle one of the most viscerally relatable chapters in the entire book. Career pivots. What Dr. Chatterjee calls monkey management trademark. And the 7 competencies that never expire, no matter how many times the game changes around them. Maya's AI disruption moment, sitting in a parking lot long after everyone else has left, asking herself who she is if her expertise disappears, is one of the most honest and powerful passages in the book. And the answer she finds changes everything. That's episode 4 of the Winning Workspan podcast. See you then.